everyone, it's Jen and welcome back. So, this week we have yet another $100 or less meal plan. This one is kind of a mix of some old favorites with some new favorites, and I just think it works really well if you're a family of four, you don't have time to, coupon and shop for deals, and maybe you don't already have a stocked pantry. This is a very simple meal plan that you could follow for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, and a sweet treat. And it would cost less than $100 at your local super Walmart. So let's dig into this. This here is the overview of the whole week in one spot. Now, you may notice that I changed up the lunches just a little bit. I put all of the items that we would actually make specifically for lunch at the beginning of the week when you're less likely to have options for leftovers. And I left all the dinner leftover options towards the end of the week, but you can totally mix and match this to work for your family. So now let's look at the grocery list. So here is our grocery list. You may notice that I separated out into each different section. This is called a strategic grocery list. This is so when you go to the grocery store, whether it be Walmart or any other store, you're going to go to the produce section and you're going to get everything you need for produce. And then you're going to go to the meat department. Then you're going to go to the pantry, which is like the dry goods section. And then you're going to go to frozen and for dairy. And this way you're not having to circle back because you missed something. It just makes your trip much more streamlined and efficient, if you will. Now, there are some items on here that you may already have at home, and that's totally fine. You can just check it off, and then your total is actually going to be less. Now, our total did come out to $97.13. This was at the Austin, Texas area Walmart. Now, normally my prices are a little bit lower, but I price these out at different high cost of living areas. So, depending on where you live, it could be less than that. Now, there are some items on here that you may already have. You may already have white rice. You may already have some ramen noodles or some microwave popcorn. So it's very easy to get this total lower. It's just that I like to be extremely realistic to where anyone could replicate this. Now, there's a few items that I'm assuming you already have at home. These are items that we had on previous lists or just really the bare basics that you should always have on hand. That's going to be your favorite cooking oil, well, whether it be veggie oil, canola oil, olive oil, whatever. Doesn't matter, just as long as you have some oil to cook with. Of course, your favorite seasonings, because honestly, everybody has different like flavor profiles and tastes that they like with seasonings. So I make sure that you do have some seasonings that are required, but anything else you would just already have. We're going to need a little bit of white sugar. We're going to need some vanilla, whether that be vanilla extract, imitation vanilla, whatever. And then either some butter or margarine. That's been on a bunch of previous lists. And you're just going to need a little bit of flour. And that's also been on previous lists. Now, I wanted to go over some visuals and explain why I chose what I did. So the first one is this little frosting. Normally frosting is 14 to 16 ounces, but we're frosting cookies, so we don't need a whole bunch. So I opted for the little bit smaller one. That's up to you. This is Parmesan cheese that's already grated. My kids really like the powdery type stuff, but for a lot of recipes, when I'm cooking, I do like to use more of the cheese that you would get like in the dairy section. These are crescent rolls. I do specify that you would need at least an 8 count on those. This is turkey lunch meat. The deluxe stir fry, they had about 3 different options. So pick whichever one you like. They're all about 20 ounces and they're all about the same price. The next one is teriyaki sauce. You'll find this over by where like the soy sauce is. And it does have soy sauce in it, but it just has a little bit more complex flavor. The next one is a boneless pork loin. In the past, we've used some of the pre-marinated or pre-flavored ones. This is a bigger pork loin, and it doesn't have flavoring already on it. We're actually going to make our own cuts to this. We're going to do some of the French fried onions, the kind that you usually use for green bean casserole. This was an interesting find. It's Hungry Jack hash brown potatoes, and you'll find it over by where the instant mashed potatoes are. It's hash brown potatoes that are similar to like the au gratin potatoes where they're dehydrated. So you pour water on them and let them sit so they rehydrate, and then you use them just like you would the frozen or the refrigerated kind. We are going to use some ramen noodles this week, and I would just say get a chicken flavor. I like the creamy chicken flavor, or you can just do plain chicken. For the broccoli, this is actually Tuscan flavored frozen broccoli. So it has a sauce on it, and we're going to use that to our advantage because sometimes sauces can be really expensive. So if you buy something that already has the sauce on it, you don't have to go buy special ingredients to make that sauce. We're going to use orzo pasta. It looks very similar to rice, but it has that same kind of more squishiness to pasta. I love pierogies, and we talked a lot about pierogies this week on Facebook, so we're going to include those. They come in two different sizes. This is just the regular size. If you like a ton of pierogies, obviously go with a bigger size. For our tomato-based dish, we're going to do a combination of just an 8-ounce plain can of tomato sauce, and then we're going to mix it up with Italian-style diced tomatoes. This is another way that we're going to get the flavor in without having to purchase flavoring separately. And then this is the boneless, skinless chicken breast available at Walmart. It comes out to about 5.5 pounds. And this week we're going to do sweet potatoes, and it did come out cheaper to do a 3-pound bag. So let's get into the daily breakdown of this menu. Okay, so day one typically falls on a Sunday at my house. So I'm going to do things that maybe take a little bit more time versus during the week when I'm trying to get kids off to school. So for breakfast, we are going to do a raspberry cream cheese Danish. I love sweets, and this is just a super simple, fun one that I actually let the kids help me with. Now, we are going to buy some fresh raspberries. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a fork and we're going to squish them up. We're going to mix them with some cream cheese, and then we're going to use those crescent rolls. It makes about 8 of them, and I didn't really have this set up to be a leftover breakfast because honestly, they're so good. Typically, everybody eats 2, and it's a really good breakfast. For lunch, we're going to do some bean and cheese wraps. Basically, think of it as like a bean and cheese burrito with refried beans and some cheese, and then we'll serve that with apple slices. For dinner, this is a really good one. It's a crispy onion chicken with green beans and rice. Now, with this, like I mentioned, these fried onions are typically used in green bean casserole, and then you have them in your pantry and you don't know what to use them. You can actually use them in a lot of different things, so this is just an idea of a way to use them. And then we're going to use the seasoning packet from one of our ramens, and we're going to use that to flavor the rice. And this actually comes out very similar to those little $1 packet of rice. It's about the same thing if you think about it. So this one's super easy. I will mention though, these chicken breasts typically are fairly large. So you can slice them in half long ways and then even slice them again. So it's almost like quartering your chicken. And then it's going to make it cook faster. And then it's also going to help kind of portion control because one of these breasts is huge and that's way too much for like a child or even an adult. Now, the prep ahead that I would do this week, since we're already going to have the oven on for the crispy onion chicken, I would just go ahead, since I'm already opening up my pack of chicken, go ahead, drizzle some oil and some seasoning on the rest of the chicken and bake it off. So that way, all the meals that need chicken for the rest of the week, it's already cooked. You've saved yourself half the time. So for day 2 for breakfast, we're going to do just some simple scrambled eggs with some cheese, put in a wrap, served with some banana. Super quick and easy in the morning. For lunch, this is actually one of my favorite lunches. I probably have it every week. We're going to do a grilled turkey and cheese sandwich with some apple slices. Now, I will mention that I was, pretty typical, and I spread the butter on the bread and do the grilled cheese that way. And my son was like, it's too greasy. And so I was trying to think of ways to do that. And my husband had this brilliant idea to start putting the sandwiches in our George Foreman grill, kind of like a panini press. So we've done it that way, and now it gives that nice crunch flavor, and I honestly don't miss all the extra butter in there. So that's just a cheap way to still get all the flavor, but not necessarily use up a ton of butter. For dinner, we're going to do a Parmesan pork with asparagus and baked sweet potatoes. Now, that pork loin is really large. It's like 4.5 pounds. So, what we're going to do is we're going to take it out of its package. We're going to go ahead and slice our own pork chops, but we want to make them nice and thin. So, depending on how many you think that your family would eat, I would cut like 6 to 8 slices, and they're kind of large. So, if depending on which one you get, you'll have to determine what size you want. And then we're going to save the other half as a roast. So you just either put it in a Ziploc bag or wrap it in some plastic wrap and put it back in the fridge. And this came out really, really well. The other thing is we're going to go ahead and bake all of our sweet potatoes at one time, which 3 pounds usually typically comes out to maybe 4 or 5 sweet potatoes. And they're kind of big. So honestly, I don't even give a whole sweet potato to everybody. Even myself, I only eat about half of a sweet potato. And then my kids, I kind of cut one in half. And if they want more, we can always do more. But this really kind of reduces the food waste. And this is going to save us time because we're going to need that for another breakfast. And we need them to kind of already be baked. So then once they're baked, I just go ahead and put them, either wrap them up or put them in a Tupperware and put them in the fridge for later. Now, for the dessert this week, I found this cake mix. It was a pineapple cake mix, and I just thought that sounded really, really yummy. And I have seen recently where you can make cookies out of a cake mix. So I decided to try it out with this pineapple cake mix. And really, you just add some oil and some eggs, and then you just need frosting. Yes, you can make frosting yourself, but in this instance, it just came out cheaper and quicker to buy it. And so you make the cookies, you let them cool, and then I just use a butter knife and I just put some frosting on top. And then I have a really big Tupperware container that I use for sweets. And then I just kind of line them all out there. And it's kind of a nice little sweet treat. It reminds me of those cake cookies with the frosting on top. I actually call them crack cookies because you really, really got to commit because it's so yummy and it's so good. And actually, I'm okay with just eating one cookie because it is so sweet. So, anywho, that's me. So for day 3 for breakfast, we're going to take some of our vanilla yogurt and we're going to just add some of our mixed berries. We're going to have strawberries, we're going to have raspberries, we're going to have bananas. I just slice them all up, and then we can do a side of toast. Sometimes my kids want toast with breakfast, sometimes they don't, so you just play it by ear. For lunch, since we're going to have about a half of a cream cheese mixture, or just cream cheese, we're going to make a mixture where we basically take our chicken that's already cooked, some cheese, mix it up with the cream cheese, and then we spread it out on a tortilla, fold it in half, and then we have like a super creamy, yummy chicken quesadillas. And if you have some salsa, or actually it's so creamy you don't really need to dip with it, but you could dip it in sour cream, and it's really good. Then for dinner, we're going to have chicken bacon ramen carbonara. And do not skip this just because it has ramen noodles. If you don't like ramen noodles, it's totally fine. You could easily do this with angel hair pasta, but I will tell you that we're going to use 3 packs of ramen noodles, and it made a ton. Okay. I've adjusted this recipe a little bit to where the original one didn't call for chicken, and I really think it needs a little something in there. But honestly, if I had not known what was in this, I would have thought it had like an Alfredo sauce. But the sauce is actually made with eggs and Parmesan cheese. And let me just tell you, it was so good, and I couldn't stop eating it. And I was actually over full for the night. So I would start small on your portions here, and then if you want, wait a little bit and then go back for seconds. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, so for day 4, we are going to do this is really interesting. It's called a bird's nest. And I hadn't seen this one before, so I definitely had to try it. We're going to use those dehydrated hash browns, and you just kind of rehydrate them with hot water. And then you drain the water out, and then you just put them at the bottom of muffin tins. And I was able to stretch this to be about 12 muffin tins, but it's really going to be about the size that your pan is. And basically, it's just kind of like the bottom is a nest of hash browns, and then you do some bacon and some cheese and some eggs on top, and it was really good. And it was just a different shape and size, so the kids really liked it. Here's where we're going to start having some dinner leftovers for lunch. We should have a bunch of different options here. And then for dinner, we're going to have a zucchini and pierogi bake. I love pierogies, and I traditionally do it where you boil them and then saute them. So I wanted to try out something new. So in this case, we're going to take our zucchini and we're going to slice it into nice thin slices, and then we're just going to kind of shingle it. I did it to where like I did like a row of pierogies and then a row of zucchini and then a row of pierogi and then a row of zucchini, but you could kind of mix them up in there. It doesn't really matter. And then we do that tomato sauce on top with some cheese, and it was just really, really good. It was almost like a stuffed shells, and it's a nice all-in-one dish, so you don't have to make multiple dishes for the night. So for day 5 in the breakfast, we're going to have a sweet potato and apple skillet with fried eggs. So this is where pre-cooking those sweet potatoes comes in handy, because the morning of this, all you would need to do is just kind of pull all the skin off of the sweet potatoes and then chop them up. And then you're going to take 1 to 2 apples, depending on how big they are. Go ahead and chop them up about the same size as the sweet potatoes. And then we're just going to fry it like home style potatoes in a skillet with some oil. And then once those are nice and crispy, then we're going to do, you could do scrambled eggs. Since I already have the pan here, I'm just going to do like 3 or 4 fried eggs, and it is so unbelievably good. It's kind of that sweetness, but it also has kind of that heartiness. I don't know. It's just a great flavor combination. We're going to do dinner leftovers for lunch. Excuse me. And then this is where we're going to do the other half of the pork loin. We're going to do a pork roast in the slow cooker with some teriyaki sauce and let that cook. I put on here 2 different ways you can do it. You could do it on low for 8 to 10 hours. I usually do it on high for about 4 to 5 hours. And then for the vegetables, you can either steam them in the microwave, cook them on the stovetop, or just go ahead and add them to the slow cooker for the last like 30 to 45 minutes, because really they're already cooked. You're just kind of defrosting them. And then I just use forks and shred this, and then I serve it over rice, and then you can just add a little extra teriyaki sauce if you really like that flavor. I've also included some different snack ideas that you can do with the items that we have, but I also suggest that you go and look at what snacks you may already have on hand, because you may already have popcorn. You may already have some things like peanut butter or Nutella. You really just want to look at what's in your pantry and just use it to the best of your ability. So for day 6 breakfast, this is typically going to be on a Friday, and I am all about super easy on a Friday. So we're going to do that vanilla yogurt with some fruit and toast again. We're going to do dinner leftovers, and then we're going to do this really yummy pasta. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to cook our pasta, our chicken, if it's already cooked, super easy. If not, you can just cook it in a pan as you go. And then we're going to use that Tuscan flavored broccoli as our sauce. Now, I've tried this with a couple different brands of broccoli, and some of them have plenty of sauce, some of them don't. So depending on which kind you use, you may want to beef up your sauce a little bit. And you can do that simply with some lemon or lime juice. You could add some Italian seasoning, or you could just add some vinegar and oil, just to kind of give it that little extra boost. But some of them I used turned out completely fine, and I had plenty of sauce. So you're just going to have to play that by ear. The great thing about this pasta is you can serve it warm, and I really like it that way. But then the next day, I had it and I didn't have a chance to heat it up, and it was kind of like a pasta salad. And so either way, whether you serve it warm or cold, it is really good. So if you're like a sports mom, like a soccer mom or a football mom, and you want to have a dinner that you could actually just take to the ball field, this is one of those. You could pre-package it in a couple different Tupperwares, and then right after the game, if your kids are super hungry, they can eat and it's filling, and then you don't have to wait till you get all the way home, but that's up to you. Now, I do want to remind you that you can do these in any way that you like. There's no wrong or right way. I'm just showing you how I would do it. You can do it to suit your family. Now, you may be wondering where day 7 is. Day 7 is on a Saturday for us, and we typically are going to do a full fridge clean out. So for breakfast, lunch, and dinner on this day, I'm going to look at every possible food that I have left over from the week and I'm going to make sure that I eat it. So I may have one kid eating this, another kid eating this, dad's eating this, I'm eating that. We're just going to have kind of a smorgasbord of leftovers, and we're just going to try to use up as many ingredients as possible so that way our fridge is nice and clean and it's ready for the next week's worth of groceries. Now, some items do carry over, and that's fine, but we just want to minimize our food waste as much as possible because if we have to throw food away, we might as well have just thrown money in the trash because it's not helpful. But if we're eating it and nourishing our bodies, we're getting the most bang for the food that we bought. Now, in the description below, I have put a link to our website where you can see all of the slides. You can also do the free printable PDF version because I know a lot of people like to have like an actual real version that they can have in their hands. Plus, a lot of people have told me that they've started adding it to their binders so that way they have a whole meal planning system. I want to let you know that if you sign up for our weekly email newsletter, you will actually get first dibs at looking at the menus before it's released anywhere else. So if you love the menus, definitely sign up for that. I also go ahead and share some highlights from the week. I don't spam you or try to sell you anything. I'm just trying to help give you information. You can always find us on Facebook. Just search Lodo Family. We have a page there. We have lots of fun discussions over there. We also have a Facebook public group where you can go and ask any questions you have about meal planning, if you want some help or inspiration or recipes to use up certain ingredients. So don't be stuck alone. Come over there. Everybody is super nice and friendly. There's no food shaming. So just come on over and join us, and we will help you make sure that you get your meal plan done. You can share your meal plan. I love it when other people share theirs. So I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Have a great Easter. Your kids might be out on spring break. So I hope you survive a week because that's how my week's going to look. So I'll see you guys later. Have a wonderful week.